Hi, I'm Nicky Pellegrino and I'm here to talk about my new book, Recipe for Life. Recipe for Life is a book about a young woman whose life is thrown off course by a single event. So she'd imagined her life was going to be one way and it turns out quite a different way. And it's a book about how you can just fill your life up with busyness and work and forget about thinking about what you really want and what's really going to make you happy and content. And it's also a book about friendship. So it's about two women, Alice, who is the young woman, and Babetta, who is an old Italian woman. And although they don't speak each other's language and they've had entirely different lives, they form a friendship. And this friendship carries on through the book and is incredibly important to Alice because Babetta really shows her recipe for life. Italy was a real inspiration for me with the books because I spent a lot of time there as a child, and when I sat down to write, it was those memories that really came out. I was quite a quiet, shy child, and I think I'd observed a lot. So I wrote about all the places I remembered, and I didn't go back there until about a year after I'd finished the book, and that was amazing. That was the first book, Delicious, and I remember walking into my aunt's house and seeing the kitchen the way I'd remembered and described it, and the long kitchen table where she makes her bread and her gnocchi and all her delicious food. With Recipe for Life, the town of Trento, that's a quite different place. It's based on a town in Basilicata called Maratea, which is a really gorgeous place where I'm very lucky that my father has a cousin with a house there. She only uses it in the summer, and the rest of the year I basically gate crash it and make her let me stay there. I think to write a book you really need to spend quite a lot of time in the place and smell the smells and hear the sounds and really kind of feel it, so that when you're writing it and people read it, they feel as though they're there, rather than, I think some writers write stuff about places they've just read about in a book, but for me, I really have to steep myself in it. The restaurants in Recipe for Life are all made up, but I did use having a chef as a main character as an excuse to eat out an awful lot. And I tried whenever possible to book the table. Often there's a table where you can see into the kitchen. So I was a hopeless dining companion because I was too busy nosing at what was going on behind the scenes. I talked to a lot of chefs. I also read a lot of books and spent an awful lot of time watching shows about food on television. You know, those endless ones where they take you behind the scenes in kitchens. And because what I was really interested in is what drives people to be chefs. It's a heinously difficult job in hot kitchens and long hours, and yet the people who do it are so passionate about it. So I was kind of interested in exploring that passion for food. Yeah, I think it is really essentially a book about friendship and about the idea that you can create family from your friends. So even if you don't particularly get on with your family or you don't have one, you can still kind of create this essential core of people who care about you. And that's certainly what Alice does, and the core of people around her help her get from this quite disastrous start to her life to finding her way to happiness, I guess. So yeah, for me it's a book about friendship, and especially that friendship between Alice and Babetta, this slightly mad old lady who sort of guides her in a way. Even though she's led an incredibly sheltered life and never left her own village, she's still very wise. I think that's something you often come across in older people.